Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Hoops All In podcast. I'm your host, Worlds Francois, joined by always Keith Bazin. Keith, how are you doing today? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Had a short vacation. Now we back here recording some great basketball content for all you Hoops All In fans. And we're gonna start with the NBA All Star Weekend. So the Cleveland Cavaliers won the skills challenge. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland did a successful job
Evan
representing the
Mobley.
land. Mobley, excuse me, and Evan Mobley did a great job representing the land. So what are your thoughts on the Cleveland Cavaliers taking home the award for the skills challenge?
I think my prediction was I had the Spurs winning, but I wasn't going to be surprised if the Cavs did win just because, better players. We saw what Wemby and Chris Paul tried to pull off in that first round there. Didn't result in anything good. They ended up getting disqualified because you have to attempt at least three real shots or have one go in. And I believe looking back at it, when two of Wemby's fake shots hit the rim, so I think they technically had two, but Chris Paul's didn't get anywhere near. So, and they weren't clear of the rules, and that's where we got to them being disqualified. Chris Paul tried to argue it. Wemby, they tried to argue it, but if it's in the rules, it's in the rules. But yeah, I mean, the Cavs, they did their thing. It wasn't really even close. They went into the final round versus the Warriors. Draymond had a rough way of ending it. He missed the chest pass a couple of times, and then his ball actually ended up knocking over the 3-point shot rack. Um, the ball boy that was holding the rack wasn't really doing his job, I guess, and that kind of just ended it for them in total.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul were doing. It was
Yeah.
when I saw it, I was like, "What is this? This is a very new, interesting strategy to try to
Mhm.
win the game." But as you said, you have to actually attempt, genuinely attempt a
Yeah. Yep.
shot. So shout out to those guys in Cleveland for representing. Next, we're gonna go with the 3-point contest. Tyler Hero won the 3-point contest representing the Miami Heat. What were your thoughts on Hero and the 3-point contest overall?
Yeah, Hero was not my pick to win. There were a few guys this year in there that I think were looked at as more of scorers, like Cade Cunningham, Tyler Hero, even really Norman Powell. Like I think of them more of all around scorers, and we didn't really get the high numbers this year. Buddy Heald, who was my pick to win, got 31. He tied Curry from a few years ago for the most points made. But other than that, I don't think we got above anything above 25 points. And Tyler Hero, he was just consistent enough to win it.
Yeah. And that's the difference. What people think about that too. Is the difference between, in-game shooting and when you're just shooting at a layup line or a practice line. So some guys are just better in-game shot takers and shot makers. I thought
Mhm.
Damian Lillard was going to win.
Yeah.
Surprised that he got knocked out the first round. So that was a bit of a shock when I saw it. But congratulations to Tyler Hero for getting it done. Now we're
Mhm.
going to talk about probably the most exciting event of the night. That is the dunk contest, and Matt McClung won back to back to back, the first player in NBA history to win three consecutive dunk contest trophies. He three-peated for the first time. So, what are your thoughts about Mac McClung and Stephon Castle pretty much dueling it out in the final round?
Yeah. I think that Mac McClung, I mean, just like the past 2 years, he brings creativity, which I've said before is what I think that the dunk contest pretty much is now. There's not a lot of dunks that we haven't seen anymore. We did see a couple, I would say, new ones tonight between some of the guys, but I mean, McClung just doing, I guess, he brought out the car and he nailed that. I mean, I think it was technically his second try, but it wasn't really the first one wasn't an attempt. He just kind of didn't get a hold of the ball. But I mean, the car was crazy. He had a guy on a hoverboard, the rim tap, of course. But yeah, and Castle, he did his thing too. I mean, I'm always rooting for Castle. Because he went to UConn and I'm a big fan of them. But I do think that with McClung being the first to three-peat ever, which was kind of surprising. Some people have won it three times. I think Nate Robinson was the only other person to win it three times.
Well, I think he won like three different
Yeah, but
years.
it was
Yeah.
different years. So I was surprised with that. But again, McClung, even though he's given us great moments, he's not in the NBA. He's not in the NBA. So I'm not really. And again, his dunks have been great. He's had some great ones. He had a couple duplicates tonight that we've seen in the past, but granted or less, he got 450s right across the board. And I think this was definitely the most exciting night for All-Star Saturday night. Normally in the past couple years, it's been the three-point contest because the dunk contest hasn't been on anything. But I think Castle and McClung dueling it out was great. Again, Buzelis and Jackson didn't really do anything. They couldn't make a dunk to save their life. So, but Castle and McClung did their thing. I was a big fan of it this year.
Yeah, I think that they should just change the dunk contest to the Mac McClung dunk contest because he has been single-handedly carrying the dunk contest for the past 3 years since he's been in it. The dunks
Yeah.
that he's been coming up with, the innovation, the creativity, the power, the finesse. Obviously, there's only a handful of dunk that you can do to make the crowd go crazy. When he jumped over a car, he actually jumped over a car, not the hood
Mhm.
of a car like Blake Griffin did,
Yeah.
the entire car. That
Mhm.
was insane. Him double tapping it off the rim. That was
Mhm.
insane. The hang time, the finesse, the power. Matt McClung is arguably the best dunker in the NBA. And like you said, he's not really an NBA player. He's a G League player. So somebody should just give him a spot in the NBA roster. But again, Matt McClung is single-handedly saving the dunk contest year after year when he's invited to be in it. And they should just rename the dunk contest to the Matt McClung dunk contest and just rate his dunks from like 1 to 50.
Yeah,
But
well, he said he thinks he's done. So, we had a couple of retirees. I think Dame said he was done with the 3-point contest. McClung said he's probably done, but we did see John Morant tweeted. He said McClung's making me want to do it. He asked Aaron Gordon and Levine, "What's up if they gonna do it?" And then Levine said, "I might have to." Giannis said, "Hey, I might get in there too." So we're looking at a very hopefully star-studded dunk contest next year.
man, I don't buy that because remember, like a decade ago, or so probably almost like when the All Star game was in Dallas, and LeBron James was like, yeah, I'm putting my name into the dunk contest next year, and never
Yeah,
did it. I don't buy
yeah,
with these All Stars, with these superstar players are gonna say, yeah, we're gonna compete in the dunk
yeah,
contest, and they
and
never
it's so
actually
far
do it.
out now.
Yes,
That
yeah,
we're a year away, so
yeah. And if I'm Aaron Gordon, I don't touch the dunk contest. He got robbed
yeah,
twice in a row. There's no need for him to get robbed a third time. Fuck that. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So now we're gonna go to the cap of the weekend, which is the All Star game with the new format. Shaq's team of the OGs won the All Star game, and Steph Curry, surprise, surprise, won the NBA All Star Game MVP, which is rightfully named the Kobe Bryant All Star Game MVP. God rest his soul on his home territory, being the unofficial host of the 2025 All Star, being in San Francisco / Bay Area. So, Keith, what did you think about Shaq's team winning it and the new format of the NBA All Star game?
I was skeptical, which I might have been a fool for being skeptical over the past however many years, but with when the NBA implemented the Kobe All-Star format with the 24 points added on for the fourth quarter, it was pretty entertaining. I believe it was in Chicago, the first one where it was really entertaining. It was down to the wire. Guys were really we saw Giannis and LeBron defending each other, going at it. We saw a lot of competition. I thought that's what we were going to get today. And I think, or not today, but this weekend. And we did get, I think, a step up from what we're used to. We saw some guys buying into the defense, like Jaren and Wemby got a bunch of blocks. Shea got a block and a steal, I think, and we saw a little bit more competitiveness, especially with the Rising Stars. That being them being the fourth team in that second game versus Shaq's OGs, where they just wanted, they want to prove themselves. They wanted to, make a name for themselves. They were pretty much all rookies except for I think Amen and Bilal Koulibaly. Um, and it was I can't imagine that this format is gonna stick for maybe any more than next year. They might do it once more, but Adam Silver's talked about maybe doing a US versus world game with the all-stars that are selected. I don't know how that would go because you would need to have the same amount of world players versus, American players, but I don't think it was the worst thing in the world like people were expecting, but obviously it wasn't. It still wasn't that didn't have that super competitive nature that I think everyone was looking for.
I thought that this was the worst format of all time. Okay,
Mhm.
yes, it did its job. There was a little bit more competitiveness. We saw the most amount of block shots in this game than we've seen the past 5 years of the NBA All Star Game. Finally, players were playing defense. But and Draymond Green said it best on the Inside the NBA telecast that this format, when they asked him, well, how would you rate it from a 1 to 10? He said a 0. It sucked. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. It made no sense. There was more commercials. There was more Kevin Hart. There was more
Yeah.
on the court shenanigans than the actual game of basketball. And the players who are the ones complaining, well, why do we have all these ridiculous format changes every single year? They're the ones who forced the NBA, who forced Adam Silver to have to change the format of the ridiculous NBA All Star game every single year. Fans, we're not asking these players to play like it's game one of the NBA Finals. We're not asking them to play like it's the NBA Finals. We're not asking them to play like it's the NBA playoffs. Just play a little bit of competitiveness. They practice harder in the off season, getting ready for the upcoming season than they
Mhm.
do in the All Star game. What they have done to the All Star game is a sham. It's an absolute travesty. It's a disgrace to the game of basketball. Being
Mhm.
named an all-star was once a privilege, was once a honor. You saw the legendary greats like Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, MJ, Magic Johnson,
Mhm.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, all those guys actually played hard and competed against each other in the All-Star game. Now they look at it as just chucking up a whole bunch of open threes, a open layup dunk contest, a
Mhm.
layup line. It has become an absolute shit show. And with the NBA getting this new TV deal, I believe it's like 10 or 11 years, $76 billion, they have done a disservice to the game. So everybody complaining, well, Trey Young said that the NBA format, the new format sucks. So did Kevin Durant. Well, then
Mhm.
you wouldn't have to have new formats if you actually competed. Go back to East versus West and you give the players one more time. Hey, we're gonna give you guys one more chance to just compete. That's it. We're not asking you guys to go out there and break a leg and go crazy. Just
Yeah.
play and compete. And then
Mhm.
we will not have to do all these ridiculous format changes every single year. That's all we're asking for. Just play a little bit hard and just play a little bit defense. That's it.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
insane. It's insane.
Yeah. And again, I think that it sucked for the teams that lost in the first game, right? Because I mean, the points it only went up to 40. I mean,
Yeah.
with if you took out all the timeouts and the breaks they did at the 15-point mark, the 30-point mark, I mean, that game realistically could have been done in 10 minutes, of
Literally.
real time. And the fact that those first timers, J Dub, Sengun, although Sengun played a second game, but some guys like J Dub was on that first team that lost to the international guys. Like they don't, they didn't really Evan Mobley. They didn't get really the all-star experience. Mobley was in the other event with the skills challenge, but playing, I mean, and what were they doing? Just sitting there? I mean, I
Yeah.
do understand from the point when Draymond said that it's unfair to those first timers because let's be for real, these teams were pretty much completely scripted to be together. The international guys versus the OG guys of Durant and Harden and Curry and all them versus the first timers or youngsters. So again, I see where Draymond was saying like it sucks for them and it wasn't the greatest format, but Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't think that this format is gonna stick. Maybe maybe next year, and if that, but I don't think this will stay
I
for
think
long.
they just need to do away with it. Once they see the backlash, you see how the fans will react, then just do away
Mhm.
with it. Again, go back to East versus West. You could tell the players you got one more chance. We just ask you just to play a little bit of competitive basketball. That's all. And you're already getting paid an incentive in your contracts if you make an all-star appearance. So you
Right.
don't need to incentivize with them any more money because all
You
these
shouldn't
guys have
have to.
generational wealth. They're
Yeah,
good. Just play basketball. That's all we're asking. And
you should.
again, we understand. We now ask you guys to go out there and play aggressive and probably roll an ankle or get hurt, but you play harder. You play harder in a practice run at an LA Fitness or UCLA run in Los Angeles than you
Mhm.
do in an All Star game. And those courtside seats, those seats in general at All Star weekend, they're not cheap. You talk about 10, 20,000, sometimes 40,000 a pop. And you asking fans to pay that much money, and that's the type of product that you're displaying, and they want to
Mhm.
bitch and moan and wondering why the NBA ratings are down, why the
Yeah.
ratings are declining. How
Mhm.
how the salaries keep going up yet the ratings going down? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Well, that I mean, it was again probably not the most, eye-opening or best all-star break that we've had, but I do think that there were some good moments. I think the dunk contest was decent. I think that, I really think that with this format for the All-Star game, it really wanted it to be down to Shaq versus Chuck.
Yeah.
Their teams going versus each other. It wasn't the players, I don't think. It was Shaq versus Chuck. They had the inside the NBA guys had a good moment last night during one of the breaks where they were getting honored. Kevin Hart said some things, Dame and Curry, I think, said some things, and they got a good moment as this will be their last year doing the All Star stuff with them pretty much going over to ESPN, and they won't really have the freedom to do a lot. I think they still get the rights to like Christmas games and some playoff games when it gets to, I think, like the finals and conference finals. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't I think I don't know. Everyone wants to see change with see stuff change with the All-Star game, but every time that they do a change like this, it really doesn't help. So I don't know. And you can't just scrap it altogether because again, to some of these guys it means something. The All-Star and all the All-Star and even all NBA stuff, like you said, it has incentives in it to where players can get super max contracts. They can get their next big deal if they're, rookie players that are making it in their second or third year. So it has value, but the players again, they just don't treat it the same. So
Yep,
yeah.
that's it. And they wondering why the NBA to keep this up. They're going to be the least most watched league out of all the North American sports. You got hockey ratings are on the rise, baseball ratings are on the
Yep.
rise, WNBA ratings are on the rise. Every other sport league's ratings are on the rise besides the NBA, and they're
Mhm.
getting $76 billion over the next 10, 11 years. So
Yeah.
that they're on a downward spiral. They better fix this and fix this fast before it becomes unfixable. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
All right.
enough about our all-star rant and our all-star reactions. Now let's
Mhm.
talk about the end of season award predictions that me and Keith came up with. So obviously, we have the number one, which is the MVP, most valuable player award. I'm going to go with, or I have three players, but I'm going to go
Yeah.
Shea, who I think should win. He should have won it last year, but Shea,
Mhm.
easier said than done, no explanations. First in scoring, averaging 33 points a game, top
Mhm.
20 in assists. Oklahoma City Thunder have the best record in either conference's best record in the NBA. Number two behind them, I got Jason Tatum because again, defending
Okay.
champions, third in the Eastern Conference. Jason Tatum is averaging 27 points a game, top 10 in scoring. And then last but not least, you gotta put Jokic in there. He is undoubtedly the best player in today's game. He's averaging a freaking triple double for crying out
Mhm.
loud. 30 points, almost 13 rebounds, 10 assists. His numbers, his stats this year are better than his numbers last year when he averaged around 27 points per game, 12.4 rebounds, and 9 assists.
Mhm.
So those are my top three, but I think this is Shay's to lose. Who do you have as your MVP?
My MVP as I have as Shea as well. I love the Jason Tatum thing, obviously, Celtic fan over here. And he's one of the guys that it might be hard for him to ever win an MVP because yeah, he gets the points and the rebounds, but part of the MVP problem to me is that a lot of people just look at, oh, whoever's closest to averaging a triple double or whoever, whatever. But yes, I have Shea first. I think for me, I have Jokic second. And he's missed some time, but I still have Giannis third. And I think I would have Tatum in third, if Giannis still ends up missing more time, which it looks like he might. So Tatum might get that third spot for me. But yeah, again, Jokic could very well win it again and get 4 and 5 years, pull off what LeBron did in the early 2010s, obviously. The Nuggets started out pretty slow to start the year, but they've gotten back up. I think they're sitting at the third seed, maybe third or fourth seed.
Yeah, something like that.
And Giannis is still, I mean, he's a top 5 player when he's playing. So yeah, I like it.
All right. Yeah, appreciate
And
that.
next, we'll go to Defensive Player of the Year. Again, another award that the winner might be more obvious than some of the others. But first, I mean, I've got to go with Vic. Wemby. I mean, Defensive Player of the Year is one of those awards that I don't think that the stats always will tell you the answer to Defensive Player of the Year or all defensive teams. But when you have the impact and the stats,
Mhm.
it's just a plus. So I have Wemby first. I actually have someone who, again, might not be eligible when it comes down to when the season ends. I have Anthony Davis second, and I put Dyson Daniels third.
Mm, okay.
Davis, I mean, I've seen that in the past, the advanced numbers don't love him, but you can't ignore the fact that he's one of the greatest defenders, big men defenders that we have. And again, he's never gotten that Defensive Player of the Year, and I don't think he ever will, but he definitely, to me, deserves to be in that top three. And then Dyson Daniels maybe isn't top three to a lot of people, but I like giving the perimeter guys some love. He's up to about 3 steals a game as well, and he is, I think, with what he's doing in Atlanta, is what they hoped they got from DeJounte Murray to do. But yeah, those are my three. What do you got?
Yeah, we pretty much got the same list. I got Wemby as the clear front favorite, runaway favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's
Hmm.
averaging almost 4 blocks a game, leading the
Yeah.
league in blocks with his 7'4" frame. Number two, I actually have Dyson Daniels behind Wemby. A lot of people, like you mentioned, doesn't know this, but Dyson Daniel leads the league in deflections per game. He has about 6.1 and 307 total deflections. Defense is
Yeah.
not all about just blocking shots. It's about getting in those passive lanes, stealing the ball, and
Hmm.
altering shots, which he does a great job at. And obviously, third, I have Anthony Davis. That might be changed because again of his injury. He's
Yeah.
might not meet the threshold of
Hmm.
65 games to be played to be eligible. But again, Anthony Davis, he is top 3 in blocks. But let me do this. I'm gonna actually substitute Anthony Davis because of his injury. I'm gonna put Walker Kessler in. He is second in blocks, 2.4. And again, can guard 1 through 5, very agile, very mobile with his hands and feet. So I'm going to put Walker Kessler in only because, again, Anthony Davis most likely will not meet that threshold of playing
Hmm.
65 games to be award eligible at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think if Davis was to fall out, I would probably have to go with it's tough, but I probably have to go with Jaren just because what Memphis has turned their season around to be. Again, he isn't
Mhm.
getting the 3 blocks a game that he's been getting, but he's also sharing the floor a lot of times with a 7-3 guy Zach Edey, who does his thing, and they're kind of, again, he's more of the impact wise where you got to be watching and his stats won't necessarily say it.
Mhm.
Um, I like Walker Kessler too. I think he's a good defender, but he's on Utah. He's on a sucky team, so I think it's going to hurt him. The reason it
Mhm.
doesn't affect Wemby so much is because of I think the name and that he is averaging a crazy 4 blocks a game. But yeah, I'm not mad at it. So next we'll do Rookie of the Year.
Mhm.
I think that as of late, this award has become pretty. pretty easy to say for me. For a while, this was one of those classes where who's going to win it? Is it going to be the second overall pick, Alex Sarr, and then some guys that were undrafted jumped into the thing? And there's been a lot of fluctuation. So first, I have Stephon Castle, who has been on a tear recently. A little slow to start off the year, but as of recently, I think he's the runaway guy unless something crazy happens. Second, I have Jalen Wells, who was really a pop out guy. Like he was in the second round. He wasn't on a lot of people's radar, but the defensive presence that he gives Memphis, who doesn't really have like a small forward that they love, or like a crazy perimeter defender with Ja and Desmond Bain being the 1-2. I think Jalen Wells has, exceeded any expectation, if he even had any expectation. And then third, I have Kel'el Ware, who again recently has had his rise. He wasn't playing too much to start out the year, but with the whole Jimmy stuff and then them having some injuries, he's really, rose to the occasion and has showed what he can do, and especially with some of the minutes where they have Bam playing the 4 and Kalel at the 5. Even though Bam hasn't been the greatest offensively, he's really showed out too. So, how about you? What do you got? This is one of those awards where I think anybody could really be in the top 3. So,
Yeah, definitely. And this is not the strongest draft class of recent memory, probably the weakest draft class of all time, arguably.
mhm,
So I have Zachary Ricochet from the Atlanta Hawks in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. He's averaging about 11 points a game, 3 rebounds. He scored 30 points versus the Cleveland Cavaliers on January 30th, not too long ago, which was
mhm,
very surprising to drop that many buckets on the best team in the Eastern Conference record wise. That is no slouch to look at. I have Khalil Ware, excuse me, from the Miami Heat. Again,
mhm,
as you mentioned, started the season very, very slow, but because of injuries, the whole Jimmy Butler drama situation, he was able to get more minutes. So his numbers, his stats may not be eye popping, but if you look at his recent games, he is a walking double machine.
mhm,
17-9. He'll give you put up 12-10 or 12-12. He's shooting about 50% from the field. So again, he's a very solid, mobile big man. I believe he has put his name in the conversation recently
mhm,
for Rookie of the Year. And I gotta go with your boy Castle from
mhm,
the San Antonio Spurs. 13 points per game. He had back-to-back 20 points versus the Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks.
mhm.
33 points against the Charlotte Hornets not too long ago. I believe that was
That was a
February
great
7th.
game.
That was an
He,
awesome game for him. So
mhm,
again, he is a walking bucket. And remember when De'Aaron Fox got traded to the Spurs, he said, "I want Stephon Castle on the
mhm,
team. He wants to play with them specifically because he knows that the future is bright for this young man." So those are my top 3 picks for Rookie of
yeah,
the Year. Again, race is wide open. You
mhm.
know, Castle could easily, again, he keeps on his scoring tear. He could easily be the favorite, but those are the I have the top 3 for ROY.
Yeah, and recently, since Fox has been there, Castle's been doing all that off the bench because they're starting Paul Vassell and Fox together.
Mhm.
I think closer to the end of the year, or even when they get to the play-in, I do think Castle should take that spot from Paul, because Paul's been good, but the fact that we got Paul or Fox, whichever is technically running the shooting guard, I kind of just not really a fan of, and I think Castle he can still do the playmaking stuff, obviously. And he can score. Again, not the greatest shooter yet, but he don't we've seen with a lot of these guys that you don't necessarily need to be the greatest shooter to
Mhm.
make an impact. So, and he definitely is. So, yeah. Um that's great. Now, one of the newer awards, which to me is still, it's very hard to gauge, so I did look a little bit at like the betting odds just to kind of get a little bit of an idea. And for the clutch player of the year, first I have Nikola Jokic. Again, they weren't starting the greatest. They didn't have the greatest start. He's had some games where he's really had to put them on his back, because for a while Jamal Murray wasn't looking like himself whatsoever. He's picked it up a little bit recently, but Jokic has really just had to show that he's the best player in the league. Tyrese Maxey, the Sixers, they're trying to get into the play-in and playoffs. I think they're sitting around 9 or 10 maybe. And obviously he's been the most healthy one out of their big three over there and the best player. And then third, I have Jalen Brunson, who, I mean, it always seems like the Knicks are in a when they are in a close game. I mean, it's Jalen Brunson getting to his spot, getting by, even with his short stature and, you know, him just being fast where he can get to his spot. So yeah, those are my three. So what do you have?
Not bad, not bad. I like those three. I'm gonna have to go Trey Young right now is a
Okay.
favorite, my favorite to win Clutch Player of the Year because he leads the NBA at clutch points right now with
Okay.
119 in the fourth quarter when it's about 4 minutes or less. Number two, I'm gonna have to go with Steph Curry because again, I've seen a lot of games, nationally televised games when it's him versus the Lakers and LeBron when he hit that game time ridiculous three, when he hit the three against the Dallas Mavericks during Klay Thompson's first game back in Golden State, San Francisco Bay Area. So there's a lot of times when the game gets close, they're gonna depend on number 30 to bring it home to either tie it or send them to victory. And I have to go with Jokic as well too, arguably
Yeah.
best player in the game. When they need a basket or when they need a play, they're gonna go to him. He either gets inside out, can shoot the 10, 15 footer, he can find an open man. Jokic does it all and even plays a little bit of defense as well. So those are what I have in my top three as clutch player of the year. Again, like you said, it's a very new award. I believe it just got introduced last year, or the year before. So it's
Yeah.
still kind of hard to gauge. But
Yeah. Yeah.
when you got to really look at close games and who is
Mm,
making those plays, whether it's a clutch game time shot or game winning shot or plays to get somebody open the ball to make a game tying shot.
yeah. I don't know how Trey Young slipped my mind. Clutch points is normally what a lot of what it's gone off of in the past. I think that's why De'Aaron and
I
or
think
was
the
it
Aaron, I think the Aaron
De'Aaron
Fox won it.
De'Aaron won it, but
Yeah.
DeRozan was the year right before it got implemented, I think is what
Mhm.
I'm remembering, and he had the most clutch points, but yeah, he would probably, take out Maxey for me, so but yeah, I thought those are good. Again, that's another one of the, like we said, harder
Yeah.
awards to gauge, and it really I don't know. It's not really up for interpretation because it's a very stat driven thing,
Mhm.
based on your clutch points. And if your team's never in a clutch point situation, then you're probably not going to get it. But
Exactly.
yeah. Next we have six man of the year. This has shifted a little bit. This has shifted around a little while, but my first guy has, I think, had his name sitting around one or two the whole year. I've got Payne Pritchard. I don't believe he started any games this year. He's had a little bit of a cold streak recently. He started off the year crazy on fire.
Mhm.
He, second, I have DeAndre Hunter, who I think actually would have won this award, but I don't believe that he will be eligible because he is going to start now over there in Cleveland.
Mhm.
But I believe he was sitting at like 20 points a game off the bench. He had some crazy games. I remember the game versus the Spurs where he dunked on Wemby to pretty much
Yeah.
get them to solidify that game. And then third, I have Nas Reed again. And I think a guy that people are probably going to wonder, Malik Monk. Malik Monk is not a six man anymore. He is, especially with Fox
Starter.
gone. He's the point guard over there, and he's even been starting while Fox was there. That's you know one of the reasons that they weren't the greatest defensively because they switched him for Keon Ellis, and
Mhm.
after the firing of Mike Brown, but yeah, he's the point guard over there. But yeah, and then Nas Reed still doing his thing. He's always coming off the bench because Minnesota still has a crazy front court players with Gobert, Randall, and then he's pretty much always that going to be that six man guy. So yeah, he's my third.
Yeah, very, very good picks. I'm gonna have to again agree with you on Peyton Richardson. He did Peyton Pritchard, excuse me. I don't know why I said Richardson.
Mhm,
Peyton Pritchard. He did again start off the season extremely hot. Arguably was going to be the runaway, but did cool off. He's still averaging close to around 14 points a game, shooting about
mhm,
47% from the field and a
mhm,
little under 4 rebounds a game. But
mhm.
again, just as a shooter can lose his touch, they can easily gain his touch as well. So
Yeah.
as long as he's still coming off the bench, he's going to be eligible. Number two, I have Ahmed Thompson from the Houston
Mhm.
Rockets.
Yeah.
He has been playing
for sure.
excellent basketball recently. Again, not
Mhm,
too he just had a triple double over the Phoenix Suns not too long ago where he had 18 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds. And so
mhm,
he's somebody to look out for who is a 3 and D do it all type player. So I have him in there as well. And I was gonna mention DeAndre Hunter, but since again he got traded to the
mhm.
Cleveland Cavaliers from the Hawks, averaging 20 points off the bench, I don't think he'll no longer be eligible. So I'm gonna have to go with Malik Beasley. I like Malik Beasley from
Okay.
the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
Again, knockdown shooter, very solid defender. I think that he has what it takes to win six man of the year. So those are my picks. But again, either one of those guys like we pick can easily win the award because there's what 30 something games left in the season. So if somebody gets hurt, they could
Mhm.
miss the threshold, and now somebody else will come in or somebody goes
Yeah.
crazy. So it is still wide open.
Yeah, I love the Amen Thompson. I don't know what Houston is gonna do because when
Yeah.
Jabari Smith comes back, I mean, Amen's been starting. Amen should not be coming off the bench anymore with what he's been doing. So, he was for sure. I think a six man of the year, but when he wasn't starting, but I
Yeah.
think he's gonna fall under that DeAndre Hunter thing where he's not going to start any or he's not going to come off the bench anymore. I don't know what that means for Houston's lineup when they're completely healthy because I mean you're not benching Sengun. He just made his first All-Star game. You're most likely not benching Jalen Green, who's been your real scoring punch, even though he's hot and cold sometimes. But
Mhm.
I mean, is Jabari coming off the bench? But then you have Tari Eason, there's Dylan Brooks and Fred Van Vliet, but they're not going to bench Fred Van Vliet. He's making like 40 mil.
Yeah.
So Dylan Brooks might be pushed to the bench, which I wouldn't be the most upset at. I thought Amen should have been starting over him since the start of the year, but yeah, I like the Amen. And then Malik Beasley, yeah, he just set the Detroit Pistons franchise record for threes made in a season, and we still
Mhm.
got 30 games left. Now, granted, it's the Detroit Pistons who haven't historically had a lot of great shooters, but yeah, Malik
Yeah.
Beasley for sure has been he's been a big boost to that Detroit team. So,
Yeah. No, definitely.
and now we've got another hard award to gauge your most improved player. I
Mm.
think that we're gonna see something new or something that we haven't seen in a long time where a guy in his 30s is probably gonna win this award, and he's my
Mm.
number one, Norman Powell. Um, 23-ish points a game. We just saw him in the 3-point contest. A lot of people, Kendrick Perkins, I think, maybe Bark. I was one of the inside the NBA guys said Norman Powell should have been in that Sunday game. Um, and they were even more upset with LeBron not playing because another person could have got in there. But
Yeah.
some people thought Norman Powell should have been an All-Star, and I think he's one of the definitions of the guys that should win it in the historically you've seen with most improved player that they have given it to some of the all-star guys who make the all-star leap to superstar leap like John Morant, Shea, Brandon Ingram. So and I know people aren't the biggest fan of that, but I do have a couple of those. I have Evan Mobley second, who did make his all-star jump, but I think people were really waiting to see his impact jump. His stats I don't think are that crazy different based on what he's been doing, but he's been second in defensive player of the year. I think the year Jaren won, but he's taken obviously that impact leap to where the Cavs are sitting around 10 or 11 losses on the year. And then I have another first-time All-Star, Tyler Hero, who I've never been the biggest fan of because I thought he was a very limited guy who couldn't really play make too much, and he was really like a mid-range kind of guy. But he, with all that Jimmy Butler stuff that was happening, he really took the reins of being the ball handler and the guy who will take over, especially with like we said, Bam not playing the greatest this year. So he's my third.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. I like that list. Again, we're gonna have to go favorite. Agree with the favorite Norman Powell, 32-year-old who's averaging his career high in points per game, with at 24 points per game, four
Mhm.
rebounds, shooting 50%. Compared to stats last year, he was averaging 14 points a game. That's a 10-point per game
Mhm.
differential from last year to
Yeah.
this year. Norman Powell again, career high rebounds, career high field goal percentage. when Kawhi Leonard went down with the injury, he said, "All right, James Harden is your team. The ball's going to be in your hand 100% of the time. You make a play." Norman Powell's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to take half the load of James Harden." So I believe he should have had a spot in the All-Star game. Again, sidetrack. LeBron James knew that he was not going to play. Foot discomfort. Just, hey, you knew you're not going to play. Let the NBA allow Norman Powell to play in as your substitute. Again, he worked all his career for that. But Norman
Mhm.
Powell, I believe, this is a clear runaway favorite for
Yeah.
most improved player of the year. Number two, I'm going to have to go with Trey Murphy the third from the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans have had a gauntlet of injuries.
Mhm.
DeJounte Murray is not out for the year with a torn Achilles. We all know the story between Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson missing a bunch of games. They looked to Trey Murphy, said, "Hey, now the ball is in your hand. You make a play." And he's averaging 22 points a game, shooting 45% from the field, five
Mhm.
assists, five rebounds. That is a huge jump from what he did last year. So I believe he should be second in most improved player of the year. And last but
Mhm.
not least, I'm probably gonna go with Cade Cunningham. Now I was a little hesitant because again, Cade Cunningham, he was a number two, number one overall pick, I believe, or a second
Mhm.
overall
Yeah.
pick. So you expected him to be great, and
Mhm.
maybe it just took a little bit longer for him to either develop or to
Mhm.
get that recognition that he was because the Detroit Pistons are not on nationally televised games. But him at pretty much almost averaging close to a triple double this year, 25 points, almost 10 assists, again 45% from the field, all averaging almost 6 rebounds a game. He
Mhm.
has taken a jump from last year, 3 point per game differential from 22 to now 25, and he's took a huge jump in the assist category from
Mhm.
4.3 assists last year to 9.4 assists this year. So I think that he's
Yeah.
a third favorite. But so I got Norman Powell, I got Trey Murphy the third, number two, and Cade
Mhm.
Cunningham, number three in the most improved player
Yeah.
award.
Yeah, I think Cade falls under like sort of like Evan Mobley, where they've had good numbers, but I mean the Pistons were a lot worse than what the Cavs are, but
Yeah.
we were just waiting for Cade to make that All-Star jump. Cade has a better team around him now. And then the Trey Murphy, I think he's going to be close to the sadly not making the threshold by the time it's said and done because I don't know if he's injured currently. Hopefully after the All-Star break, if he is, he won't be. But yeah, Trey Murphy is a great one too because they really have been wanting him to start, and they've had a log jam of wings over there, and with them
Mhm.
obviously getting rid of Ingram, it kind of opens that up full time for him. So yeah, those are good picks. And then our last individual award is who is our coach of the year. First, I mean, I've got to go with Kenny Atkinson of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've completely jumped. You know, everyone thought that they were going to be. I thought they were going to be around that third, fourth, fifth seed again. They are obviously the first seed by a mile. Um, and Kenny Atkinson, in his first year there, has really changed around the Cavs. Again, they've pretty much always been around a 50-win team since Mitchell has been there, but this year they're probably on pace to win like mid 60s with how they're going. So,
Mhm.
which I don't think anybody would have expected. Second, I have Ime Udoka for the Houston Rockets, who I think the Rockets have slipped to the fourth seed. Maybe they've been at the two seed for a long time. Ime Udoka is a very defensive oriented coach. We saw that when he was with the Celtics during their first finals run there in 22. And then pretty much since he's been in Houston, their defense over there is crazy, even though, they've got some crazy defensive pieces like Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason. But even with guys that historically aren't the greatest defenders or just too small, mainly, Jalen Green and Fred Van Vliet's been a decent defender, but again, he's my height. So, it really limits him. They've really been a great defense this year. And again, people were like after they just missed out on the plan last year with being the 11th seed, we thought they were going to be like, okay, maybe they can get to the 8th seed so they can get two play-in games. They're looking like they're cemented in the playoffs. Like they might get a first round matchup, to be home. Their first if they're the higher seed. So, and then third, I have Mark Dayton. He won last year, but again, Thunder are, again, I think playing to where they're going to win mid 60 games too, which they were the 1 seed last year, but I don't know if people expected them to win maybe 65 games this year. And again, he won it again this year. But yeah, those are my three for coach of the year.
Yeah, definitely gotta have to agree with you on on Kenny Atkinson. Kenny
Hmm.
Atkinson, excuse me, from the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are the best record in the Eastern Conference, 44 wins compared to last year when they won 48 games in total. So they're on pace to win well in 60 plus games. And you got to remember, too, they went from JB Pickerstaff to Kenny Atkinson. You have a whole new coach, a whole new system, a whole new offensive scheme, a whole new defensive scheme with new
Yeah.
personnels. So that is a lot for a new coach to do. And he had the locker room is bought into his philosophy. The
Hmm.
top players are bought in. Donovan Mitchell's bought in. And the fact that they added again DeAndre Hunter, who seems to be bought in, is going to seem to be bought in as well.
Hmm.
That Kenny Atkinson deserves. It's a clear runaway favorite. Number
Yeah,
two,
they're
I'm
at
gonna
44-10. So
yeah, no, definitely for sure. Number two, I'm going to have to go with the Detroit Pistons. Talk about the former Cavs coach
yeah.
JB Pickerstaff. The
Hmm.
Pistons, who were abysmal last year, 14 wins for the entire season, are now in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
29 wins this season so
Hmm.
far, six in the Eastern Conference. Again, brand new coach. We have to learn a whole new system, whole new offense. They added some key play, some role players coming off the bench to help out. It is very, very hard for a new coach to come in and teach a new philosophy and have all your players buy in. And that's exactly what Jay Bickerstaff has done with the Detroit Pistons. They are no longer the laughing stock team of
Hmm.
the NBA. And last but not least, gotta go with Ime Udoka of the Houston Rockets. Houston, big jump from what they had last year, or like you said, currently number fourth in the Eastern Conference. Nobody really expected this team. They thought that this team would be fighting for a lower seed playoff spot, maybe like a play-in team, but
Hmm.
they were fourth. They're fourth in the Western Conference. At one point, they were second in the
Hmm.
Western Conference, and their core is a whole bunch of guys who are 22 years old or younger. So they're like another OKC version 2.0, where again
Hmm.
they got young studs, young players up and coming, got a decent amount of draft picks, and now they're developing them. And there are a couple years ahead of schedule from being
Hmm.
what they're supposed to be. Again, huge
Yeah.
improvement from Houston, where they were last year to 11th. Now they're top four in the West. At one point, they were a top two team record wise. So those who I got again Udoka. I got Kenny Atkinson, clear runaway favorite, and Jay Bickerstaff. Those are my top three for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and an award that we really didn't pay attention to, Executive of the Year, I think it goes to Leon Rose of the New York Knicks. They signed OG, they got Mikel, they got Cat. So I know that's not really a crazy award that people really care too much about, but just thought I would mention it. Um, and now we get on to our all NBA teams. For my first team, we'll just start with the first team. I have Shea, Tatum, Giannis, Jokic, and then I ended up giving the fifth spot, I think, to Wemby. I think that you can
Mm,
switch between another guy like Carl Anthony Towns or AD maybe, who was really the guys that I were debating between. But yeah, I ended up giving that fifth spot to or not Jokic, sorry, Wemby. But yeah, those are my first five for the first team.
wow, I think we pretty much got the same list. I got Shea all first team,
Hmm.
Jason Tatum. I
Hmm.
got Jokic, obviously, Giannis, and I do have excuse me, I have Giannis, Jokic, Tatum, and I will put Wemby in there as well. I was debating of putting Anthony Davis, but again, him missing that long amount of games,
Yeah.
so I don't think he'll make the that. So I'll give it to Wemby because Wemby has taken again. We expected Wemby to be great, but him
Hmm.
taking that massive jump from year one to year two, I would definitely put Wemby in there as well. So yeah, I agree with that.
Cool. All right. Give me your second team.
Second team, I'm gonna have to go with Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell,
Okay.
Jalen Brown.
Okay.
Uh, I feel like I'm leaving somebody off. I was debate between him and Kyrie,
Hmm. Okay.
but yeah, Donovan Mitchell,
Hmm.
Steph Curry,
Okay.
um, maybe Alperen Şengün. I think Alperen Şengün should be second all team. And
Okay.
then last but not least, I'm gonna have to give it to Carl Anthony Towns. The impact that he has had on the Knicks, being an all-star, we've seen a more aggressive tone in his game. That has to take serious in consideration for him to be all second team. So that's who I got.
All right, yeah, I've got Donovan Mitchell, I've got Jalen Brunson, I'm just gonna leave Anthony Davis in there for now because I can't think of someone that I want to replace him with necessarily. So Brunson, Mitchell, Davis, Towns, and Sabonis for me is my second
Mm,
team.
okay.
Um,
Okay.
I Curry was an interesting one. I'll get to my third team, but I didn't have Curry on any of my All NBA teams this year.
Really?
I didn't. He statistically, it hasn't been his year. He's been since Butler's been there. I think he's averaged 30 plus since Butler has been there. The Warriors are. I think they might be at the 9. They might be at the 9 or 10 seed now. But they haven't been winning, and I can't. They're sitting at the 10th. They're 28 and 27, a game above 500. But yeah, here. So my third team is Anthony Edwards, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, and I'm gonna go with Cade Cunningham. I was debating
Mm,
between Cade or Trey Young, but I think I'm gonna give it to Cade just because his team's doing a little bit better. I think that the All NBA team, unlike the All Star, I think All NBA does have a little bit more to do with winning. And I think the Pistons have obviously been better than what the Hawks are doing right now, even though the Hawks have had some rough times with, losing Jalen Johnson, and then their trade deadline wasn't the greatest. They lost some pieces for guys that really aren't going to play for them. But yeah, and I know not having Curry, it probably won't happen. He'll probably get on the third team, or he'll maybe the second team, but I just like these guys better. So yeah, that's my third team: Ant, LeBron,
interesting.
KD, Dame, and Cade.
Interesting. Yeah. Third team. That's tough. I have Jalen Brunson because again the Knicks are winning.
Hmm.
Anthony Edwards. Uh but it is positionless because I think Dame Lillard
They have
does deserve
minutes.
a third spot. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to put Dame in there.
Hmm.
Got LeBron and KD.
Okay. Yeah. Dame has had a better year than last year.
Okay.
First year with the Bucks. I think he's more implemented. The Bucks again started off a little slow. The I don't know exactly where the Bucks are sitting at. Let's see.
They're like fifth or sixth, something like
They are
that.
their
And
fifth. They're 29 and
yeah.
24, 5 games above 500. They beat Minnesota by 2 as their last game. Um, they've picked it up as well, and yeah, I think Damian Lillard and then Cade getting his first spot for me. I mean, I think he's almost at a double double
Mm,
this year. I think he's 25, 9.4 assists and 6.3 rebounds and 50 games played, 35% from three. You know, yeah, I like it though, and I like you had Jalen Brown there too. He's one of the guys that he had, or you had him in your second team, I think, but
yeah, my second team.
he hasn't had a great shooting splits year. His shot really isn't falling like he is. I mean, he was still an all star, and he's still a star, probably still top 20, I would say, in the league. But yeah, I like it. And then for my defensive first team, is I have Wemby, I have Anthony Davis, Dyson Daniels, I have Jaren, and then I have Amen Thompson.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. You gotta have a Met Thompson and Neil.
Yeah.
For my defensive first team, I'll see Wemby leading the league of blocks.
Mhm.
Anthony Davis, but again, it's tricky. Is he going to meet that
Right.
threshold, or does that count for all defensive first team,
It
second
I
team?
believe the only thing it doesn't count for is the all rookie teams.
Oh, okay,
So the
okay,
rookies, I think, like if the rookies played 45 games, they could still make an all rookie team. Which we'll get to. But yeah, the 65 game threshold is for I believe everything but the rookie teams.
okay,
So
okay. Just
again, he might not make it. So, But again, I'm not going to replace him because I don't want to put in somebody over someone else that maybe deserves it more. So
Yeah, I feel you. Okay. So all right, so I have Shea, Dyson
mm,
Daniels for this is for all first defensive team,
hmm
Wemby,
hmm
Anthony Davis,
hmm
and I don't know if I should say this, but this might shock a lot of people. Walker Kessler. I like
yeah.
Walker Kessler a lot. Second in the league of blocks, and you don't. A lot of people don't watch a lot of Utah Jazz game, which there's no incentive to watch Utah Jazz game, but this guy can really defend.
hmm Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like it. He's definitely got the numbers. Again, it sucks that the team isn't winning because I don't know if he'll get the love from. I don't. I think it's a bunch of media people that vote for All NBA and stuff. So I don't know if he'll get the love, but that he deserves with his numbers. But yeah, he's had a good year. So,
Mhm.
and then my defensive second team. Again, even though these don't, they don't have to be based on position. I don't. I also just don't want to give it to five centers or five power, center
Yeah,
forwards. So
yeah.
I do have guards in there. I have Drew and Derek White. The Celtics backcourt. They're still a great team. I have Giannis. I have Evan Mobley, and then I have J Dub. I think J Dub is. I hope he gets it. I hope he gets at least second team this year because he is sitting at like 6'5" or something, and he was playing center for a little while for them. He
Yeah.
is everywhere. I believe as of now, still the Oklahoma City still has the best defense in the history. If the season were to end today, he was steals, blocks. He really was holding it down while Hartenstein and Chet were both missing some time. They're both back now, even though Chet hasn't looked the greatest in his first couple games before the All Stars. But I think J Dub is one of the most underrated guys in the league based on what he can do offensively and what he does do defensively. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's my second team.
Yeah, no, extremely underrated, and it definitely needs some more love from NBA peers and NBA fans. So a second team for me, I'm gonna have to go with Tyrese Maxey, because he is top five in steals per game, almost averaging about 1.9, pretty much two steals per game, and he does defend, even though he's more of a smaller guard, 6'2",
Mhm,
can still defend, but he has the NBA body. I agree with you on J Dubs. There was a position time point in time
mhm.
when they say, hey, we need to guard five positions, and he was guarding five
Yeah,
positions. You got to give Giannis out there. There's nobody that gets back on defense and as athletic
yeah,
as he is.
mhm,
Jokic will be in that category as well too. He's averaging about again almost two steals a game. And
yeah,
last but not least, I probably would like to give it to this. May be a shocker to some people, but I like to give it to Jared Allen because Jared Allen again he contests a lot of shots. He'll get dunked on a lot of times. Don't get me wrong. But when you need somebody a
that's part
setter to
of
be
it.
like, hey, alter these shots, block these shots, you might get posterized. He does the dirty work. He does a lot of the dirty work.
Yeah, that's part of it. He does again. He's one of the guys that doesn't necessarily have the numbers. He's sitting at one block, one steal a game. But yeah, the impact between him and Mobley, which is a very untraditional front court, especially in today's time where it's really,
Mhm.
Mobley can hit the three for sure, and he does, but they're pretty much two big, like real centers, back to the basket type of centers. That defensive, duo, I think both him and Mobley could both get on these all defensive teams. So I'm not mad at it. And then
Mm.
our last award we have is our all rookie teams. My first team is Steph Castle, Jalen Wells, Kalel Ware, Zach Edey, and Alex Sarr.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously Stephon Castle again. He's doing a great thing right now with the
hmm
San Antonio Spurs. Definitely got to go with Zach Edey.
hmm
Um, I might have to go. I had somebody, but I wanted to take him off. Zach Edey. I like Risha Shea from the Hawks again.
Okay.
I was gonna put I had Sarin before because I'm like, okay, number one overall pick, he should be fine, or two overall pick, but he hasn't really lived up to the hype that I thought that
The
he
Wizards suck. He's more
yeah.
of a defensive guy, and when you're on a team that's as bad as that team, it's hard to show your impact and what you can really do when nobody else can defend or really
Yeah.
do anything. So I get that for sure.
Yeah, so I'm pretty disappointed in him. And then I don't know if I should say his name, but I am Dalton Connect. I like Dalton.
I knew it was coming.
Dalton, man. Listen, hey, listen. Remember, there was one point in game, Dalton hit like 6 or 9 threes.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
guy
I
is
know.
he's a lights out shooter. Again, he may not be, he may be a little disgruntled after the rescinded
Yeah.
trade, but this man again, I'm 4-year college player from Tennessee, came in fit right away. So you gotta put connect in.
Hmm.
And I have one more spot. I like Cavante George from the Utah Jazz. 16, almost 16 and a half points per game, 6
Deontay
assists.
George.
Yeah,
I think
Cavante
he's a
George.
second year. He's a
Oh, he's a
second
second
year
year.
guy.
Oh, I thought he was okay. I thought he was a oh, fuck. I thought he was a rookie. That's my bad. All right. So who else can I put in there? I thought I could have sworn he was rookie. So I have Risha say, what about
Yeah, he's a second year.
mm, yeah, because this draft class is just so damn weak.
It's hard. I mean, these are all rookie teams. They could really. There's a lot of guys that could get on here just because again, there's not like overwhelming talent that
Yeah.
could take the spot. So
Uh
um
how about you know what? Okay, fine. I'm gonna obviously take away. I'll put Buzels in there from the Chicago Bulls.
oh, okay, all
I
right.
like Buzels a lot. Yeah. So those are
Even
my
after
top
the
five.
dunk contest.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, it's all and one dunk contest is just an event. It's all about what you put on tape for 82 game schedule.
Yeah,
I,
I'm fine.
I was a little bit, flip flopped on him and where. Actually, you know what? Let me change that. Khalil Ware, because he has really Khalil Ware from the Miami Heat
Yeah.
again. uh, from the majority of the start of the season, wasn't playing much with the okay. He's probably a developmental player, but
Hmm.
recently, a couple weeks with the whole Jimmy Butler, he stepped up. And one thing about Miami, I don't know if it's the Miami water, if it's the women down there, but they know how to develop players.
Yeah.
That Heat culture, they know how if they could turn a 50th draft pick into a legit solid 15, 20 point a night scorer. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna I like Bazel's game, but I'm gonna put Ware instead. So those are my top five for all first rookie team.
Yeah, and I said earlier, I believe that the rookie team is the only thing that the 65 game minimum doesn't matter to.
Hmm.
So, and the obvious name that we're missing, but I don't. Even with the games he did play, I think he's played way too little. Even though the minimum doesn't really affect this award, Jared McCain would obviously be on the first team
Yeah.
if he. But he, I mean, I don't even know how many games he has
Yeah,
played, but
torn meniscus. Yeah, fuck. Ended his
it's
season.
oh, he played 23 games. That's more than I thought, but yeah, I mean, he would definitely be on this first
Yeah,
team. If he played just a little bit more for me, even though again the game requirement doesn't matter too much.
yeah.
So
Well, hell, if he didn't get hurt after those 23 games, he probably would have been the favorite to win Rookie of the Year as
yeah,
well
he
because
probably
he
he
came in
was
hot.
for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a point in time he was it was a point in time he was the Sixers' best player.
yeah. I mean, he's pretty much. Is he out for the year? I
Yeah, he's
don't.
out for the year. Yeah, torn
He
meniscus.
is. Yeah, he is. It says out for the season. Yeah, he was 15 points a game, 2 rebounds, two assists, 38% from three. And I again, not the biggest sample size, but I mean uh that's not even from the whole year. I mean, his first like 8 games or something, he really wasn't playing. He
Hmm.
was, I mean, like 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. He got some, and then he was like playing 40, 30s for the last like 15 games there. So, yeah, he would definitely be on this first team. But my second team, I have Reese O'Shea. I think again, he gets a lot of bad rep with him being the first overall pick and him not being this crazy Palo or Cade or Wemby. When these guys come in, they're already stars. I have your boy Dalton Connect on the second team. I've got Eves Missy in New Orleans. He really was had to step up with all their injuries out there, even though they sucked. But again, it's the rookie team. A lot of these guys aren't winning anyways. I put Donovan Clingan. Again, the stats don't really show. I mean, he's a crazy block guy, and he was playing behind DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams for a while. They are hurt, so he is playing more. But So I wouldn't be surprised if he misses out on the rookie teams, but he's and then I have the last guy I have is Ryan Dunn from the Phoenix Suns, who
Mm,
a lot of people didn't think that he was really going to play this first year. He would because he was I think he was I think he was picked in the 20s. He was going to a Phoenix Suns team that had a lot of wings. Yeah, he was a 28th overall pick. A team with a lot of wings, Durant, Booker, Beal, but they didn't have defense. So they really have been relying on Ryan Dunn, who's a rookie, to be their stopper, and he's lived up to it. And I love what he's done. So yeah, my second team again: Ricochet, Connect, Missy, Klingon, Dunn.
okay. Okay. I like that. Very solid second team. So this is my second team for the rookies. I'm gonna have to go with Donovan Clingan again from the Portland Trailblazers, UConn guy.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably gonna shock a lot of people, but Rob Dillingham. They have not been playing.
Hmm. Yeah,
I forgot who their point guard is.
Mike Conley.
Conley. Yeah, they have not been playing Conley that much recently. And when you seen Rob Dillingham play, again, there's a reason why he's called Rob with the shifts, because his handle is nice. His jump shot's a little bit funky. I think he might have to fix his mechanics, but it's all
Yeah,
about putting the ball in the hoops. I really like Rob Dillingham.
38% from three this year so far in 31 games. Again, he's only getting about 13 minutes a game.
Yeah,
He's been in
but
and
those
out of
13,
the league a little bit.
he can
But yeah, he's
play.
a bucket. I mean, he's
Yeah,
super small. He's
yeah.
short. He's super skinny. So that's probably why he's not playing, because Minnesota is a very defensive team over there. And why they just roll with a guy like DiVincenzo. But yeah, with Mike Conley not being anything good this year, really, and being in and out of the lineup, I'm surprised he hasn't played a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's good. I like Dillingham.
Yeah, Dillingham, he's a walking bucket. Number two, I'm gonna have to go with, um, I'm gonna have to go with Kaishan George from the. I like
Hmm.
Kaishan George a lot. Again, you talk about a guy who is 6'7",
Hmm.
209, very versatile, can defend, block shots, rebounds. I like that. Number three, man, this draft class is just so weak because I'm looking at these rookies and there's nothing like eye popping. It's like, oh, this player has the it factor.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's again, it's rough. A lot of different guys could go here. I
yeah,
think another guy that could be here is Georgia's teammate Bub Carrington too.
yeah,
He started off pretty good, but they've got a lot of guys over there who are vets that kind of sadly are taking the minutes, like Brogdon and stuff. But yeah, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, you're good, you're good. No, you valid points made. For my fourth spot, I'm either stuck between giving it to, I'll put Buzels in there. I'll put Buzels in there from the Chicago Bulls. I already had him there, but I'll drop him down to my second team. And last but not least, I might just have to give it to again Cody Williams from the Utah Jazz. I like
Okay.
Cody
Yeah.
Williams' game a lot.
He's I think he's been playing a little bit as a more, but he really hasn't found a role for himself. So that's a little surprising because but I think he could turn out to be something good as his brother. No, probably
No,
not.
no,
But
no, no. Too
I
early to
I think
tell. Yeah,
I think he could. Right? Yes, he's playing 20 minutes a game. 4 points, 23% from three. But yeah, that's I think he just needs. I think he just needs some
he's
more
yeah.
time. But yeah, all right.
Yep. So
All
yeah,
right. Well,
those are our awards predictions
mhm.
for the MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year. We got all NBA first team, second team, rookie team as well too. So again, don't forget to like, subscribe to the Hoops All In podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Hoops All In, TikTok Hoops All In _, Twitter/X Hoops All In. For World's Francois Keith Bazin, signing off again, and also to listen to our podcast on Spotify. If you for the audio version, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You got iHeartRadio as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for World's Francois Keith Bazin. Signing off. We will be back next week for another episode of Hoops All In right here. Stay tuned, guys.